Okay, we are here. Hi, Luke.
Hi.
And we're going to be just doing a warm-up to remind you about several different ways like addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, and then order of operations that you work with numbers. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's first talk about addition and subtraction. So let's do an addition problem here, and let's just remind ourselves what the steps we do with addition are, okay? So the first thing is you go from the right to the left. So we're going to be starting over here in the ones column, or if there were tenths, if there are decimals, you would start just as far over to the right as you can, and then you move to the left. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sum up each column, and you're going to carry when there's a number over 10. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's go ahead and do this problem. What would be the first thing that you would add up then?
7 plus 6.
Okay, and what is 7 plus 6?
13.
Okay, so then what would we write here?
A 3 on the bottom, and then above the 2, a 1.
Okay, good. And what does that 1 above the 2 mean? What are you doing there?
There's 1 tens and 3 ones.
That's right. So this 3 represents the ones, so that's why it's in the ones place, and then there's 1 tens place. Very good. So now what would you do?
Now you add 1, 2, and 9.
Okay, so what's that going to be?
12.
12, good. So what would you write then?
2.
2 down here, good. And then what else would you write?
A 1 above the 2.
Okay, 1 above the other 2. Good, good. And what does that 1 above the other 2 represent?
The tens place? Or?
Let's see, what is it? It's the ones, tens, what's there?
Hundreds place.
It's the hundreds place. It seems like it's a 10 because that was a 12, and the 1 in the 12 is kind of the tens place, but you were already working in tens here. So you carry a 1 over to the hundreds. Now what would you do?
Now you add 1 and 2.
Good. And you write it down there, and you get 323, and that's your answer. Okay, good. Now let's talk about subtraction. Okay, so we'll do a subtraction problem here. Instead of adding 227 plus 96, we're going to take 227 and subtract 96, okay?
Okay.
All right, so the steps are kind of similar, though. You start from the right in the far right place, and here it's going to be the ones place. And then instead of carrying, though, you're going to do what's called borrowing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. What would you do first here?
Subtract 6 from 7.
Okay, and what is that?
1.
Okay, good. So we'll write a 1 down there. Okay, now what would be the next? Now you didn't need to borrow there, right?
No.
And why didn't you need to borrow there?
Because 6 is under 7.
It's less than 7, right?
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so 7 can take away 6, and you can still have some left over. So, or it's 0, and wouldn't be a negative number. So you can do that. Now, how about 2 and 9 though in this next column?
You need to borrow.
Okay, so where do we borrow from? This is the tens place, so where do we borrow from?
The hundreds place.
The hundreds place, okay. So as you probably remember, we'll cross out that 2 and we'll make it a 1, so we can borrow one of those hundreds. And then where does that hundred that where does that 100 that we borrow go to?
In front of the 2.
In front of the 2. Or we can cross out the 2 and write a 12, or change that 2 to a 12. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now what do we do?
Subtract 9 from 12.
Good, because now we have enough up here to subtract 9. Before we only had 2, but now we have 12. So what's 12 minus 9?
3.
Good. And now what's the last thing that we do?
1 minus 0.
Yeah, because there's a 0 kind of in front of this 9. There's no hundreds for the 96, so we have 100 minus 0 hundreds leaves us with 100. And then we can circle that. That's our answer, 131. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go over here to multiplication and division. So multiplication first. We'll take now 227 times 96, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now multiplication is a little bit different. I'm going to set it up like this, and I'm going to put different colors for the 6 and the 9 so we remember what we're multiplying by. And then let's go through and remind ourselves. So this we're also going to go from right to left, and we're going to carry when necessary. And we're going to make a row here for each one of the multiplying digits down here. So there'll be a row for the 6 and a row for the 9. Okay? So does this sound familiar? Do you kind of remember this?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the first thing we multiply? What by what?
7 by 6.
7 by 6. Okay, yeah. So we're going to take this 6 and we're going to multiply it by each one of these numbers. So the 6 times the 7 or the 7 times the 6, what's that?
42.
Okay, so then good. So what would I write?
A 2.
A 2, good. Down there. And where do I write that 4?
Above the other 2.
Above the other 2. Okay, good. So we're carrying that 4 because we want that 4, which is part of 42, to be in the tens place, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now what do we do?
Multiply 2 by 6.
Okay, good. Yeah, so we're going to keep going with the 6, and now we're going to multiply the 2 by the 6. What's 2 times 6?
12.
And then what do we have to add in here?
4.
The 4, okay? Because there's 4 more tens there. So we've got 12 plus 4. What is that?
16.
16, good. So what do we write then?
6.
6 down here in the tens place. And where do we put the teen, that 1 that's in front of the 6?
Above the third 2.
Uh-huh, good. Over there. Great. Now what do we multiply?
2 times 6. Again.
Okay, this other 2 times 6, what's that?
12.
And then what do we have to also add in?
1.
Okay, so what's that going to be?
13.
Good. Oh, that was a lot of steps, huh?
Yeah.
And we're only halfway done, huh? Because what do we have to do now?
Put a 0 below the 2.
Yeah, some people put a 0 here, and some people just leave a space. Okay, so we're just going to leave a space. And then what do you do next?
Multiply 7 by 9.
Yep, so we're going to have to take just what we did with the 6 here, multiplying it by each digit. Now we're going to have to take the 9 and multiply it by each digit. So what's 9 times 7?
63.
Okay, so what do we write down here?
A 3.
Okay, so we're going to write the 3. And remember, the reason we're writing it here in the tens place is because that 9 is in the tens place. Okay, so we have to kind of adjust over to make sure that we're taking, that we're in the right place. Okay, so we have 63. We wrote the 3. Where do we write that 6?
Above the 2.
Okay, good. So we're going to write that up there. Now what do we multiply?
2 times 9.
Good. And that's what?
18.
Good. And then we have to add
6.
which makes 18 plus 6 is
24.
Okay, so what do we write right here?
A 4.
A 4. And then what do we do with the 2 of the 24?
Put it above the 2.
Good.
The
So
other
that's
2.
way up here again. Good. Now what do we multiply?
2 times 9.
Okay, so this 2 times 9, right? And how much is that?
18.
And then what do we have to do?
Add another 2.
Add this 2 that's up here. So what's 18 plus 2?
20.
Okay, good. So we can write that. Whew! All right, so we've got what we multiplied the 6 by. The 6 was in the ones place, so it started over here. Then the 9 was in the tens place, so it started here. We multiplied it all. Now what do we have to do with all these numbers down here?
Now we add them.
We add them up, okay? So this one, it looks like it's going to be pretty easy. We don't have any carrying like we did over here. But what's 2 plus 0?
2.
Good, and keep going for me.
9. 7.
Good,
1.
good,
2.
good. So what's our answer?
21,792.
Very good. Okay, and when we write it out, we probably want to put a comma in the right place, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good review of multiplication. Just a couple more things. Let's do division next. So division is a totally different animal. We'll have a different number here entirely, 294 divided by 3. And we're going to set it up in our normal division sign here, okay? And let's remind ourselves our steps for division. With division, you're going to go from left to right, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to find when you can divide into the numbers here. And then you'll subtract to get the remainder. And then you'll bring down the next number. And you'll keep going until you have a remainder of what?
0.
0, right? Okay. So, can 3 go into the number 2?
No.
Okay, so we'll keep going over. Can 3 go into 29?
Yes.
How many times?
8.
8? Okay,
Oh,
so
actually, 9, sorry.
good. It's good to try numbers in your head there. So what's 9 times 3?
27.
Okay, good. So what do we write where? What should we be writing here?
Write a 27 under the 29.
And before we do that, 3 times what is 27?
9.
And where do we write that?
Above the 9.
Okay, good. So let's write that there. So we're going to do 3, and then 3 times 9, and as you said, we'll write down the 27 there. Then what do we write to do our next step?
We have to subtract 27 from 29.
Good. And what is 29 minus 27?
2.
Okay, good. Now what do we do?
Bring down the 4.
Okay, good. So we have 24 there. How many times does 3 go into 24?
8.
Okay,
times.
so where do we write the 8?
Above the 4.
Okay, good. And then what do we write?
8 times 3, so another 24.
24 down here. Then what do we do?
Subtract.
Okay, and what do we get there?
0.
Good. So we've gotten our remainder of 0. So what's our answer?
98.
Very good. Okay, so remember all those steps?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, last thing. Order of operations here, okay? Now I'm going to give you a kind of a word here to help you remember this. Have you ever seen this word, GEMDAS?
Yeah.
Have you seen PEMDAS also?
Yeah.
Okay, so some people like to put a P here instead to stand for parentheses. Some people like to put a G to stand for what? Do you know what it is?
No.
It's groupings, okay? And parentheses is just one type of grouping. So this is the order that you're going to do things in when you do when you find the value of an expression. So first you do groupings. Then what's the E for? Do you know? It's not something you probably have done very much yet. It stands for exponents. Okay?
Okay.
So you do groupings, then exponents. Then what do the M and D stand for?
Multiplication and division.
Good. And so the third thing you'll do is multiplication and division. And you do that left to right.
Yeah.
Okay? And then how about the A and the S? What do those stand for?
Addition and subtraction.
Those would be the last things you do. You also do those from left to right. Okay, so let's do a sample problem here. We have 8 plus 2 times 3 minus 5. So if we follow the order of operations here, there's no groupings like parentheses. Are there any exponents there?
No.
Okay, so what would be next? What would you do then?
2 times 3.
And what is 2 times 3? We'll do this
6.
part right here. Good. So we'll do our multiplication first. So we can rewrite this as 8 plus 6 minus 5. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what do we do next?
Add 8 plus 6.
Good, because we're going from left to right. All we have here is addition and subtraction. We're going to do them left to right. So 8 plus 6 is what?
14.
Good. So we'll write this now as instead of 8 plus 6 minus 5, it's 14 minus 5. And what's 14 minus 5?
9.
Good. So see how that's your answer?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll circle that. Now, what if we did the same problem, but we're going to put some parentheses in there? So same numbers, same operations. Operations are things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. But instead we put parentheses here. Let's see how it turns out, okay?
Okay.
So what would be the first thing you would do in this one?
Add 8 plus 2.
And why would you do it? That's correct. Why would you do that?
Because it's in parentheses.
Which is a grouping. So if you
Yeah.
do PEMDAS or GEMDAS, that's the first thing you have to do. So what's 8 plus 2?
10.
10. Okay, so we'll rewrite this as instead of 8 plus 2, it's 10 times 3 minus 5. Does that look right?
Yeah.
Okay, now what would you do next? What's the next in your order of operations?
Multiply 10 by 3.
Okay, good. And what is 10 times 3?
30.
30. So we'll rewrite this as 30 minus 5. And what's 30 minus 5?
25.
Good. So there's our answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So just a quick review. If you're having any trouble doing any of the problems, just come back to this video. You should be able to review it. Sound good?
Yeah.
Great work.